What's up, everybody? It's your man Donnell, aka Small Guy Promotions, aka the Omaha Fatty, coming with another podcast episode of What's Up Omaha. We have a return guest today. Jennifer, how are you doing?
I'm doing great. I'm so happy to be on talking to you again.
Yes, it's nice to have you back. It's cool to have some return guests and to always have new content to be able to get out there, and especially today since we are coming to bring a a very well known topic to the discussion table. A very polarizing statement was made recently in our state. So basically, if you were hiding under a rock and you have not heard this, but Governor Pete Ricketts for Nebraska, when talking about, and it's not just regular marijuana use, it was medical marijuana use, when he was discussing the passing of the bill, or it being up for debate about the passing of the bill, he made a statement that was like, what are you talking about? And I pulled it up here. I did a Google search just to make sure that I had it in front of me. And, the top article, as Jennifer and I were just talking about, was that he said, if you legalize marijuana, you're going to kill your kids. This is coming from a governor of a state. He said, if you legalize marijuana, you're going to kill your kids. Jennifer, first, before we dive deeper into that, can you tell everyone who may not have seen the first interview who you are and what business you run here in Omaha?
Yes, of course. My name's Jennifer Carbonell, and I, along with my husband, Garrett, own two of the American Shaman CBD stores in Omaha, and that's a nationwide franchise. And we're leading the edge on technology and new innovations for CBD. And so this is kind of what we talk about. This is part of what we do every day, is talk about CBD. And as somebody in the CBD industry, it's always kind of on our forefront with medical that comes through, or potentially recreational, like, since we have the established labs and technology, if we're going to go into the medical end. So I've been looking into that too. But yeah, so this was definitely anybody who's involved, or who, I think anybody's heard of somebody in their life who's been impacted by a disease.
Mm-hmm.
And then we've all heard positive things about medical marijuana. So, anybody's heard that. So but yeah, it was very emotional for us, especially you and I are both parents. And for you to say anything that this is going to kill your kids, especially when it's not true,
right.
That's just not what you say to people. That's not what you say to parents.
Yeah. Like what is it in your mind that thinks that's okay? I don't even know whether you believe it or not. If you don't have the actual data to provide to prove that statement, how do you even form your lips to say that at a press conference or whatever, in whatever arena, to however many hundreds of thousands of people? Well, in this case now, because it blew up so much, millions of people. How do you fix your mouth to say that and not think that people are going to think that you are either a fool or just very unreliable, or, as a lot of people have said, in the pocket of these big pharma companies? Why would you say that? Why would you say that? Like, it makes no sense.
Yes, and what you said there, it does kind of make you wonder, like, I think it might be personal for him too. The governor and the attorney general, they talk a lot about mental health. So maybe there's something going on. And the stigma does run so deep with marijuana. And that's not really everybody's, but he's an elected official. He has to go above and beyond your fears. And But yes, hemp and marijuana gets the short end of the stick. It's basically like a catch-22 for legalization and research. So I guess I'll come back around to that. But what he did say for his data was he referenced a couple cases where adolescents had committed suicide and they had THC in their system, or one person had referenced doing dabs in their suicide note.
Mm-hmm.
So let me pull up. While there might be, now there are lots of studies about marijuana. There's lots of medical professionals who have an opinion. And, some of these studies and things are a little bit one-sided or biased in a way, like who's doing the research. There is a plant in Missouri that is, it's a government plant where they are able to have medical marijuana that they grow. This is the only place in the United States where they can have the medical marijuana. So if you want to do any research or anything, you have to get it from this specific place.
Mm-hmm.
And they do some studies, but most of the studies, their idea of the studies is to find negative impacts on the effects of marijuana. And they spend a very, very small portion, like 16%, to look into therapeutic benefits. So that kind of makes you think there's only one place where you can get it. And then, like I said, it's kind of a catch-22 because you have to be able to do these studies to get the FDA regulation. So it's kind of like when you get out of college, they're like, you need experience, or
Yep.
kind of like that. You got to start somewhere. So with Ricketts with the reference of we need to be FDA regulated. Well, the endocannabinoid system was discovered 30 years ago. There's been many, many attempts since then to try and reschedule and do all these things. For the last 5 years, at least, the people of Nebraska have been dragging their sick children who might be in need of some compassionate medical marijuana up to Lincoln, to these sessions to try and beg and plead for some help. And then for him to say that in front of them when I'm not a doctor.
Yeah.
But when you think about seizures and those, conditions that they have, that's, very detrimental on your body. So it's kind of like a risk ratio that you have to make. So yeah, when we keep going back to the FDA regulations and it needing to be approved, it sounds simple to do it, like, oh, we have to wait for the processes and for the FDA to do their job, but it's not getting to that point.
Right. Yeah, they're cutting it off. They're not even giving it a chance.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Well, and one of the other things that I'm reading here in the article that he said is like he was comparing the medical marijuana to LSD and heroin and ecstasy. Like, bro, like people have smoked marijuana for so many years. Like, I mean, for you to just come out and say just like a bold face, like that's not even nowhere near the truth. And again, like you said, why would you say that to a parent, especially when there's people who are taking their kids, to these to beg for, and they see their kids in pain and they're trying to figure out a way to help their kids. What parent wouldn't go through extreme limits to try to figure out a way to help lessen the pain for their child who is going through some kind of thing like cancer or whatever else it is? There's so many different things that I've seen people, and it's not just like they want to just be like, here, smoke a joint, like smoke a blunt here, like, there's like the CBD oils and the different things that people can use that, as there's no THC in the items that you're using when you're talking about CBD, but people just lump all that stuff together. And there's a lot of, we live in an age where there's so much misinformation and it comes from so many different places. You would think that it's more important for a political official to provide accurate data.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. You know, and in the state of Nebraska, we actually do have a bill. Wait, let me talk about the scheduling. That's what I wanted to talk about. So with currently marijuana, and that term in itself, we kind of have a problem. I briefed on this last time, is kind of from it, you know, his Mexicans were bringing over the marijuana, the cannabis originally. So then they named it marijuana, and this was in the 30s, and it was kind of like a little smear campaigning and a little bit of fear with associating that name with minorities.
Yeah.
There's some racial connotation.
Yeah.
And so then let's move forward a few years into the 1970s, where we started doing the Controlled Substance Act. So that is where marijuana really became a problem. It was grouped into as a Schedule 1, like Rickett was saying with heroin and marijuana. When you think about that and you look at what is the qualification for that, and it doesn't really qualify. And there have been several attempts to reschedule marijuana, and they've all been done unsuccessfully because they keep getting blocked for those different complications that we were talking about earlier.
Yep.
So say if, you know, there's Schedule 1 through 5, like 5 is low potential for abuse relative to Schedule 4, currently accepted medical use and potential for limited dependence. So I could see, you know, I agree that THC should have maybe some type of scheduling because it does have dependent attributes to it, not the CBD. So that's where you really have to differentiate them. And that's where it gets complicated too, because you take the whole plant and it has all these different parts, but you break them down, and, you know, CBD, you don't build a tolerance. It's, you know, not addictive, but THC, right, it's not addictive, but it can have the dependent nature. So, and there is medical use for, there's a couple prescription medications. One is Miranol. So that's a THC based one that is prescribed to people who are going through cancer treatments to help with the nausea from chemo. So that you can actually get from a doctor. It's a synthetic form. There's also Epidiolex, which is a CBD synthetic that is prescribed to patients with epilepsy. So to say that there's no medical use, that's not true. Even like, you know, more natural plant matters, you know, there's the medical, but even if we just talk about those two, when there's, those would be something your doctor could prescribe you.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's the thing. You're not talking about just like some random person on a corner somewhere. Like that's what they're making it seem like. You're just going up to whoever and buying this off the street. Like, no, you're going to you can't get it without a medical professional's assistance. Like, that's the big thing about it. It's like, why would you say that? So are you saying that you don't trust those people in the medical field to make that decision? And the crazy thing about it is, you know, as many people say, and I'm sure you've heard this argument thousands of times, where people are saying this stuff comes from nature, from the earth. This is natural. They'd rather have us on all these other drugs that you don't even know how many different things are in the drug or what each one does by itself or how it interacts with another thing that's inside this, but they want you to take it. Oh, you have ADHD, ADD or whatever. Here, take this. And all these side effects, you know, you ever see those commercials where they're like, you're like, oh man, I got back pain. Here, take this pill. You might have a nosebleed. You might die. And you're like, bro, what? like no, how does that make sense? You have all these side effects. So you're saying that you're okay with people taking these drugs because they're created by a pharmacy and all these, you know, people. And I know I saw a tweet where someone was saying that Ricketts got some money from Pfizer, maybe, you know, at some point, a couple $1,000s. So
I've heard stuff like that. I've never fact checked it, but you know, it makes, like you said, why are we continuing to keep on this report? I mean, so he has some concerns. He does have legitimate concerns underneath all of his fear mongering. You know, we have to think about things, but we are very fortunate in Nebraska that we have have some awesome young progressive senators like Anna Wishart, Adam Moorfield, Senator Justin Wayne, and Wishart and Moorfield. They attempted to do the bill last year, and if you were following that, they got all the signatures. It went to the ballot. Then there was a sheriff in Lancaster County who sued it because it was Supreme Court, and the Supreme Court said no. So that's what happened last year. So they didn't approve the bill. The bill was what they put together, had lots of regulations. That didn't work. They said no to that. Then if it did go to the ballot and we did vote for it, in the majority of Nebraska's, it's like 65 or 70% of Nebraskans are pro-medical marijuana. This is a bipartisan issue. It's not only Democrats that are for medical marijuana. Everybody is in acceptance. So if it did go to the ballot and it got approved, it'd be like the Wild West. There's no regulations. It was forced on us. We're selling whatever we want. Okay.
Yeah.
And that sounds kind of whatever. But, you know, in the Wild West, lots of people got shot. But the point with that, you know, there needs to be a little bit of regulations. That's why we're pushing for legalization, because in the CBD industry, there's a lot of companies out there who don't have, you know, if you get your CBD from the gas station, who knows if it has any CBD at all. And that would be the same with, you know, you want to make sure there's no molds or mildews or pesticides, or you're getting the actual content of what the labeling says and not any other ingredients that you might have allergies to, or then you get into, you know, with THC, there are things that you should be precautious about, like, you know, pregnancy and youth development and potential, you know, people who have mental illness might be a little bit more, it may not work so well with them. We'll go back to that part, but a couple things that he was concerned about was kids resistant packaging, education. It's more toxic these days, but Anna Wishart and them put together a 62-page bill, LB 474, that goes in depth talking about anything that you can think of. You know, maybe as an employer, maybe where you work, they wouldn't want everybody coming in under the influence. So the bill is not putting, you know, it's not saying to employers or to insurance companies, you have to cover this. You know, employers or insurance companies, they can make the decision if they want to be accepting of this. So, you know, it's not like everybody has to, if you're a school bus driver, you're not going to be able to use THC. It actually says that in there. So it's I think of that, and you would have to have an established relationship with your doctor. And if doctors are giving away too many prescriptions, then they're going to have to go under further education. So if there's like one doctor in town that everybody's found out is okaying these medical cannabis prescriptions, are gonna be like, okay, well, let's make sure this guy's doing the right thing. And that's good, because that was one of the problems with the opiate epidemic, is that, you know, there were some doctors that were just handing them out and people are getting addicted and it was causing problems. So they're regulating that. And so that's another thing Ricketts was talking about. If you go somewhere that it's not going to be a doctor it's going to be like a bud tender. Yeah. Well, what the bill says is that you have to get the prescription from the doctor. You could go to a dispensary, but you have to talk to a pharmacist, and the pharmacist will be provided to you for free to talk about disclaimers and dosing. So it's, I'm sure he can read and his staff can read.
Yeah. Well, and so one of the things that like comes to my mind is, even not going back however many years, if we're talking about current day, there's plenty of states that not only have legalized marijuana for medical use, but there's states like Colorado who just legalized marijuana. And you go, like you were talking about, a dispensary, you go and you know, they check your ID and all that stuff. When you come in, it's like, you know, like a real legit, like experience. Like you feel like you're going somewhere else that's not a dispensary for marijuana. Like I mean, you know, so how many of those people are dying in those states, you know, just from their marijuana use? Like I don't watch a lot of news, but I haven't heard about a rampant outbreak of people dying from marijuana use. So it's just, again, it's just crazy. And like you said, a lot of those fears may be personal to him on some level for something, but you know, you would have thought that that would be a message that, you know, you rehearse or go over with some of your staff or whoever beforehand, and you say, hey, I'm going to say this, and they're like, yeah, you probably don't want to say that. I mean, there's other ways to get your point across without telling people that their kids are going to die. Like,
Yeah, I wonder if his advisor got demoted or something for that.
yeah, like I just don't know. There's got to be some better judgment there. And you, especially at that level of uh position, you can't tell me, like you said, everybody can read.
Mhm.
You can't honestly tell me that there is not a way that that argument could have been presented in a better, they could have wrapped it up a little better and presented it better to people, where, you know, they could have got their point across, and maybe not been so polarizing in the media and having all this attention. But again, as you said, if they didn't do that, they wouldn't have all this attention. So maybe this will be, you know, the thing that helps start pushing things forward, because you know, Nebraska is kind of behind the times in certain things like that. And you know,
Mhm.
you mentioned it, that there's some progressive people in the state, political figures. So at some point, you know, and I know a lot of people are like, even if you're not talking about the marijuana topic, there's a lot of people who want Ricketts gone. Like there's a lot of other reasons that people want Ricketts gone. So hopefully at some point, I mean, again, I'm not huge into politics, and that's not my area of expertise, or even some area that I like to give a lot of energy to. But this is just one of those things where I'm like, that's crazy. Like that. Usually I don't want to comment on political stuff, but I'm like, that does not make sense. That does not make
Yeah,
sense at all. So,
he might have gotten farther just speaking more rationally.
yep. Yep, that's all. That's all he needed to do, is say, "Hey, you know, I don't believe that this is the step that we want to take or the direction that we want to move in. Here's why: A, B, C, and D, and nobody has to die." When you think about it, you know, a lot of arguments are, well, think about prohibition. People started making moonshine. I mean, you know, people have their ways. If you're not going to legalize it, you're going to put people into a situation where they have to decide what they're going to do to relieve that pain that that child is having. And you may be making it worse, because instead of them being able to go to a certified doctor, they are going to the random guy, you know, on the street corner that they want to scare you about. Like, you might actually be driving people towards that. And maybe it's one of those things where, again, maybe he's just getting the money from it, and he's like, you know, from the opposing side, he's just getting those boosters or whatever they're called, at the political level. And maybe he doesn't care. I mean, I don't know. I don't know the answer to it. I mean, that's something that only he can, you know, answer for. But it's just like, what is the motivation behind it?
Yeah, yeah, I get Nebraska's like, we like to wait and see how everything goes, and we don't want to jump on anything, and I can go along with that, but you know,
Yeah.
I,
Yeah.
this is it just needs, we're done with it. We're tired of not having hemp and access, and the only reason I won't try and get into all that too much. I don't, but we've kind of talked about why hemp wasn't originally outlawed in the 70s, why it went to the Controlled Substance Act. So for about 100 years, but before that, I think there is like 11 different issues that they used to prescribe cannabis for, like in the early 1900s or the late 1800s. And you can go back to, you know, the tombs and into ancient Asia and find evidence of cannabis and hemp rope. So it's not a new thing.
Yeah.
But as far as the deaths go, the CDC has cited as fatal overdose unlikely from marijuana, and the DEA has reported no overdoses related. He talked about those 2 suicides that, you know, but they're not actually, what is it? Reverse causation. Something that's a word that applies to the situation, and also for the schizophrenia. Like, yes, if you have some type of mental issue and you use a drug that makes you dependent, it could, you know, increase. So that's one of the things in the bill, is that they want you to be evaluated for previous alcohol or substance abuse, or if you have any past family history of schizophrenia. Because, you know, we're like, oh, you know, everybody likes cannabis. It's good. It makes you feel good and stuff. But, you know, and that's the same way with our clients. We recently started selling an isomer of THC. So a lot of people are on board with that for the increased pain relief, or the, not making any medical claims with that word, or the little recreational aspect. But some people are like, no, I don't like how it makes me feel. It makes me feel too like anxious or paranoid. And so you know, there's some people that aren't going to be on board with that. And so I think it's good to involve a doctor when it gets to that point, so they can help educate somebody if they're on that, you know, where they want it, or maybe they need a different ratio of CBD versus THC. People kind of getting caught up in, I want to get the highest THC possible, but that might not be the best for everybody. So, I mean, that gets into like the recreational versus medical, but we're just really talking about medical first and foremost.
Yeah. Let's, you know, one step at a time. You know, it's not one of those things that, you know, you have to just go ahead and say, okay, everybody has access to this. No, let's do like we do most things, and have a plan to roll it out slowly, where you can actually, like you were speaking about before, where you can oversee it in a responsible way. And then let's see how it goes from there. Like, I don't understand why you would not allow people to get a prescription from their doctor to help them with pain or whatever. You know, I've seen a lot of people who have chronic illness or chronic pain, and they talk about certain things, or, you know, that was the only thing that helped them and didn't make them sick. Because sometimes they'll have those pain meds or whatever it is, and maybe they work, but the side effect is them not feeling well, and them, you know, throwing up or whatever else it is. Why not give these people an option? These people are struggling. And this is one of the things that I said on Twitter. I would put money on it that Pete Ricketts, if he had a family member that was suffering from one of these debilitating illnesses or diseases that some of these people are dealing with, if that was his child and someone said that, hey, this other stuff isn't working, maybe you should try marijuana or whatever it is, I have no doubt that that man, because, you know, I don't trust politicians anyway, but I have no doubt that that man would find someone. He might not personally go out himself and get it, but I have no doubt that that man would find someone who could get him access to marijuana to take care of his kid. And that's the thing about it. He's in a position where he can make a big difference for people, and he's not willing to even, you know, give it the light of day to open that to a possibility for people who really need it. And it's not like you're just asking a crackhead. Like it's not crack. It's not that. Like, these are people who have families and who are trying to do the things the right way. But again, like I said, there's only so many times that you can go and be rejected when you're trying to do something the right way, to where if you feel like you only have one resort, you're going to do what you need to do to obtain what you need. And again, I feel like Pete Ricketts would do that at the drop of a hat if that was his family member.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's been brought up before in this case, even on the floor of the courthouse about, when we're talking about the death penalty and the injections to kill that person, and we don't have to get into the sides of that, but the point was that he felt so strongly enough about that issue that he went to make it happen.
Mm-hmm.
He did what he could to make it happen.
Yep. Yep. I don't know. Well, yeah. Good old Pete. In case you haven't heard, I know that some people call him Governor Caillou from the PBS cartoon. But yeah, if you ever want to get a chuckle, just call him Governor Caillou. But I feel like we've given that a lot of life, and so many other people have done it also already. Let's focus a little more on American Shaman and CBD. What are you seeing, and what are your goals, or what are things that you guys are doing aside from the isomer, where you can help people in different areas with your products?
So we have a wide variety of products. We have our CBD, and then we started isolating CBD, be more like clarity, focus, maybe even some digestive support. And then we've started isolating CBN, relaxing for restful night's sleep. And so people are getting great results with the CBN night without any grogginess the next day. They're feeling well rested. They're not getting weird dreams like some other sleep aids might give. So that's, it's a whole plant. It has all hundreds of different cannabinoids. And so we started getting into the CBG and the CBN, and the Delta 8 is the THC one. And then we have our CBD products. So, it's exciting. We've been at the other store 3 years now, and I've been thinking a lot. We have clients who still come in, and they've been coming since the beginning, and, they've really felt a lot of improvement in their daily lifestyle.
Well, and that's pretty, reassuring when you have those people who have been with you so long, and not only that they keep coming back, but they're telling you that they're seeing some type of result or improvement from that. So that's gotta feel good.
It does, yeah.
So
we're doing a big deal too. If you spend $99, you get 30% off. So our regular bottles like $59.99. So if you add on just like a small pack of gummies, then you can get like a pack of dog treats for free, basically.
And what are the dates for that? Or how long is that running?
Until March. This is March 23rd when we're recording, so until the 31st, next Wednesday.
Okay, cool. So this will actually, here, let me see. Yeah, this will come out on Sunday, so they'll have a few days left still to be able to take advantage of that. And I'll make sure to put a link in here that pops up for your website and everything. And of course, it'll be in the description of or the details of the podcast, so people can follow you guys wherever. If people have questions on these things, CBD, like if they're like, I don't know anything about CBD, but I heard someone say that it can help me with such and such. Should they call you? Should they email you? Should they reach out on Facebook? What's the best way to contact you guys?
Yeah, you can do any of those. I'm, happy to answer any way we can. And we do curbside, and we still ship from the store. So we have clients who are still not feeling comfortable coming out into public, or who just don't have the time to drive, and we'll ship like even to Plattsmouth or down the street or whatever the case may be. So it's very easy. You can call and ask us any questions. Don't feel like your questions are silly or stupid by any means. actually have a call right now. Do you mind if I answer?
No, go ahead. Go ahead.
American Shaman, this is Jennifer.
See, that's what happens, ladies and gentlemen. She's got business to do. She's a
Yeah,
businesswoman. So
we do. We have a wide variety of Delta 8 products from.
I promise you guys that was not planned out. Her phone really did ring, and somebody contacted her to
So it would be available for all the American
ask her
Shamans.
whatever they're asking her right now. But that's perfectly timed. Couldn't have planned it better. Couldn't have planned it better.
Oh,
But yes, they have 2 locations. One,
really
their original location is off of 96th and L. And their other one is out west on 160th. I'll let her tell you.
yep, we're on 168th and Center next to Clancy's. This is our new location, and I kind of have the picture up. But yeah, we have a bunch of local art, and we have some other local vendors in store. And then our other store is off of 96th and L.
In this store, how long has it been now for the new
Almost
store?
2 years. Yeah, we survived last year, so you know.
Yeah, it was the summer, right? The summer of 2019, or was it spring?
Yep, it was June of 2019. Yep, I remember he came out and welcomed us in. So yeah.
Yep.
It's great.
Man, I tell you.
Yeah, we might do.
What was that last part?
Oh, go ahead.
No, I just didn't hear you on that last part. It froze or something.
We might do some events out here this year if people are starting to feel more comfortable. We'll see.
Nice. Yeah, because you were doing a lot of pop-ups and stuff before where people were coming out. So yeah, hopefully we can get back to that. I know people are getting vaccinated left and right. It sounds like I know people at work have talked about it. My job is actually giving people 4 hours of paid PTO. I said 4 hours of paid PTO, says paid time off, but giving people 4 hours of PTO for each shot. So, but they're not, yeah, and they're not requiring people to take it. And we're working from home now for the most part anyway. But, you know, they said that that's a decision that's up to you and your family to make, but they'll gladly give 4 hours for you to go and get that taken care of if you need it. So that's one that is at least cool. But yeah, man, I know my wife told me today that she got one scheduled because, you know, she does massage therapy. So yeah, that gets her under the medical field where she can get on that list. So she'll be getting, I'll have to ask her, but I know she said maybe it's next week or something, but she actually got the date for the first shot, and I think she's excited about it because she can go ahead and get that out of the way.
Yeah, and then just feel more comfortable about working with her clients, I'm sure.
Yeah, especially being out in that area where there's, you know, it's a salon where there's a bunch of come and go traffic. So you just never know. But I don't know. I stay at home myself personally, so I'm not really too worried about it. I'm not around a lot of people usually. I mean, my daughter did wrestle this season, so I was around a bunch of people for that and stuff. But you know, I'm not doing a lot. I'm going out and getting food and bringing it home. We did just this last weekend. We ate out as a family for the first time in I don't know how many months. Oh yeah, it was so nice. We went out to Thai Isarn down on like 150 or out on 150 like second. It's over in Pepperwood by Omaha Tap House, but just off of Dodge. But yeah, they weren't too busy. They had a booth where there was no one at the next booth, and there was people at the other booth, and there were a couple tables over off to the side where people were. So we were totally in a corner by ourselves, and we just enjoyed dinner. It was cool.
Yes. Yeah.
So glad to be able to do that. And so shout out to Joshua over there at Thai Star, and I'll give them a little plug too. They're really good.
Yeah, I love that. You've still been supporting that. So I've been trying to do that a little bit more with your encouragement and some of the other locals' encouragement. But yeah, it feels good to shop local, and I think you just have a better overall experience.
Yeah, when you get to know the people, like getting to know you. I've always said that whenever I talk about, going to eat at a local restaurant or something, if you go to a place and you get to meet the owner and they come out and talk to you and whatnot, it just feels good. I don't know what it is, but it feels good. So, and it builds that connection that you don't get from like a big chain or whatever. Usually, I mean, some places will have really nice staff and management, but it's still not the owner who really is invested into the people that are walking through the door.
Hmm. Yeah.
So, yeah,
Yeah, this is our everything, our store.
yeah, yep. So, and yeah, it's great to just feed people's dreams, man. Like,
Mhm.
yeah, I don't know, man. It's just something about being able to spend money with someone who really believes in whatever they're doing, and they're not living like everyone else, and they're following that dream, and they decided to take that leap and just go for it. Like, I love that, and I hope to do that at some point in my life. So I'm definitely down to support that.
Yeah, absolutely. And you, the entrepreneurship is being passed on, I saw, to your.
Oh yeah, she's been doing it for years. I mean, we were doing, I think in 2014 we started our vendor events, and uh she didn't participate in the first one, but probably the second or third one that year, she participated in, and uh, she had been doing it ever since. Every quarter, she was participating in all that. Well, yeah, you've seen her at the events, but since we're not doing events now, it's like she's still creating and figuring out different pieces of jewelry to make and stuff. So she's been playing around with resin recently, and she went
Oh,
online and found out how to make different items. So, uh, she's just been sticking with it. And I'm like, okay, we got to figure out a way to be able to get her going with this since we're not doing events. And, hopefully she still wants to go to college and things like that. She wants to be a teacher. But if on some off chance her goals change over the next couple of years, it'll be nice to have something else that she has an interest in where she
yeah.
might be able to make some type of living from it. So I'm all for that.
Yeah, or even a side job. It seems like a lot of creatives really found their outlet the last year and
Yeah.
started coming with different items.
Yep, so much time, so much time. Especially if you've, lost your job or you've gotten your hours cut or something like that, and you have to do something. You can't just lay around all day every day. That gets old at some point. So and I know myself, not that I've been searching super heavy, but I've gone on a couple of job interviews and whatnot, and haven't been successful. So I'm still out there looking, and it's not easy to find a new job, especially in the climate that we're in. So, you gotta, if you can fall back on a talent and something that you really enjoy doing, go and do it.
Right, right. Yeah, well,
Well,
whenever we start doing the events again, I'll be excited for it.
yeah, I mean, hey, if you have an opportunity for us to stop out, we will definitely sign us up.
Oh, yeah, yeah, absolutely. I'd be totally open to that.
Yeah, I'm sure she'll be excited, and that's totally in a different area from where we're at here in Papillion. So, exposure to a new market of new people, and yeah,
Yeah.
so. Well, what else? Any final note that you want to leave off on about American
Um,
Shaman or anything that we've talked about?
well, just some of the data on legalizing weed. I'll run through another thing on that. So the facts, and then so he's concerned about children. Medical marijuana would be for adults, not children, unless they had some type of underlying condition that the. So okay. Legalization has barely, oh no, we don't care about that one, about the price of marijuana. Legalization didn't seem to substantially affect crime rates. So proponents like to say it will reduce, opponents like to say it'll increase, but it shows it doesn't really make a difference. Legalization seems to have little or no effect on traffic accidents and fatalities. So there's a few studies suggesting that it doesn't really majorly affect trends in Colorado and Washington since legalization. It has created jobs, lots of jobs. So in Nebraska, that's we just talked about that. And then legalization is good for state tax budgets. Here in Nebraska, we definitely know about that. That's a big talk all the time about budgets. And then it would really help enforcement too, because a few years ago, Nebraska tried to sue Colorado because, you know, everybody was trafficking the goods across I-80, and the small counties are picking up, I guess they take care of the whole bill. They take care of like your medical bills and get you the prosecutor, the public prosecutor. So all these things, these small little towns in the middle of Nebraska are picking up for. So legalization would get rid of that too. You wouldn't have that enforcement cost. You could just worry about, you know, putting the money back into the state. And then workman's comp claims are lower because of that. So those are just a couple just general facts about legalization, just some of the concerns, like, and then about increased teen use, there might be like a slight increase of like 2 to 3%, but not really much. But we talked about, you know, illegal products too, and the dangers there. So, you know, it's just only, but yeah, so those just my maybe basic points. We could go back into that more, but just to wrap up on matching his data with data.
Well, and I'm glad you had all that, because you can tell that you have done your research and that you have a stake in the game. You know, again, CBD is not marijuana, but you know, a lot of times when people don't know what CBD is, they just lump it in with marijuana, and you know.
Oh yeah, let's talk about that for a second, real quick. So cannabis is all. Cannabis is higher THC cannabis, we'll call that marijuana. And then cannabis sativa L with under 0.3% delta 9 THC, that's hemp. So sometimes the wording can get thrown around, and when you go on like PubMed, that's where a lot of these studies are with their, you know, you can find a lot of information on PubMed about the different parts of the plant. But then the words get kind of thrown around. So sometimes that can be confusing. Like this study is called medical marijuana, but they really did the study on a CBD isolate or, you know, cannabis. Well, cannabis, okay, but what's the THC percentage? Because that could vary the effects. So yeah, it's a fun industry, but yeah, it's a lot of education. So we're happy to be on here with that. And then hemp, what's hemp? So hemp could be like hemp seed oil that doesn't contain any actual cannabinoids, or hemp could be that other definition that we talked about.
Yeah.
So if we are going to go into the medical marijuana field or become a dispensary, potentially, but it would depend a lot on the legalization that happened. We wouldn't want to take away from what we have going on right now. And I would need $25,000. So if anybody, investors.
Oh man, that's not expensive at all.
It goes through. But somebody just told me that they opened a dispensary in Missouri and had to pay $4 million.
Man.
Yeah, I thought 25,000 was a lot.
That's a lot of money.
But yeah. So, but yeah, so, you know, if we were able to do it, we would do it because we feel like we have a good opportunity to do so. And once it becomes federally legal, American Shaman will probably start producing a delta 9 THC product. So that would be a very easy in. So we may wait until that happens before we do it ourselves, just in case anybody was wondering. Cool. But in the meantime, don't discount CBD. It does a lot to regulate your body and your serotonin. THC just gets a lot of attention, and you can CBD all the time. You can CBD and be a mom. You can CBD and drive, you know.
Yep. And it comes in many different forms. You've got the water solubles, you know, you said the gummies earlier, you know, there's so many different ways, the oils. So you've got options with it.
Yeah. Nice topicals for your grandma in case she's nervous about, you know, the stigma. You just feel a little bit better in the hands.
Yep. And I know from my time doing jujitsu, a lot of jujitsu practitioners will use CBD, you know, and a lot of times it's just to rest or relax or recover or whatever it is. So, yeah.
Yep,
CBD
non-toxic, non-addictive, doesn't build a tolerance, the World Health Organization. So just, we talked a lot about THC, but just to go on the differences of, CBD has been removed as a scheduled illegal. So that's the big legal difference between the two.
There you have it. Again, guys, if you have any questions about this stuff, contact American Shaman. I mean, again, they've got 2 locations. So if you want to pop in, you can do that. If you don't feel comfortable popping in, just hit her up on, or hit her or her husband up on Facebook. Where are you guys all at? I know you're on Facebook, Instagram as well.
Yep, we're at Omaha American Shaman on Instagram, and then that's our Facebook. I actually have a CBD group because Facebook has kind of been pushing my posts down, and because I shared pictures of smokables. So that's kind of my fault. But I started a group, CBD Helps Omaha. And so I've been able to put a little bit more content on there. So yeah, any way you can reach out to us, you can call the store, like just message the Facebook page. And, if I'm still up at 10, I'll answer, or, you can even order through the messenger. So I know our generation, sometimes we're like, you got to talk to somebody on the phone. I mean, I can't order it on.
Yeah,
you can order it on. Our website has good information, cbdomaha.org. It's very well-rounded. And then American Shaman's medical research director, Dr. Robert Kaufman, has a blog. Just Google CBD Dr. Bob. I don't remember the exact website, but it has a lot of answers to hot topic questions, like how does CBD affect my interactions with other drugs, how does CBD work with cancer, CBD and drug testing.
All right. There you have it. There you have it. So much knowledge. I don't know how you keep track of all that. Like, I would have been like, I'm done. Like, there's so much. But again, you have a passion for that.
Yes. Yep.
So
it's my department.
There you go.
I may not be smart about a lot of things, but I know some stuff. I know a lot about this, but even I and the medical professionals, there's so much unknown. So you'll hear that a lot about this industry too. There's a lot of good information, but still more research needs to be done. So if we can legalize and regulate, we can get more on that path to understanding.
Yep, there you go. And I think that's the perfect spot to end it. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for tuning in. You can listen to the podcast wherever streaming is available. We're on YouTube. If you're watching it, please subscribe. If you're on a platform where you stream it and you're able to subscribe, please do that. We're trying to grow the podcast, trying to reach more people. That's what it's always about. Let's grow together. Please like, share, and subscribe. That's what it always is. Smile, help someone else smile, laugh, and help someone else laugh all day, every day. Jennifer, thank you again for being on.
Thank you. Good time.
Always a pleasure.